Introducing Mrs. Craigie.
Good morning, Giant community. My name is Andrea Craigie, principal at Herons Crossing School. Rocky View Schools would like to acknowledge the land and recognize all the Indigenous peoples whose footprints have marked these lands from time immemorial. Together, we can learn and honor the ways of knowing of Indigenous peoples for all future generations. I want to welcome everyone this morning in our school and in our community to our digital Remembrance Day ceremony. Thank you in advance for your respectful behavior during our video presentation today. Today we are remembering, but in addition to remembrance, it's also a time for quiet celebration and giving thanks for the freedom and awesome lives we enjoy today. As we're going to see, hear, learn, and remember this morning, our world used to be very different. Boys and girls' lives used to be very different. And so we want to spend time this morning remembering and being thankful, celebrating how lucky we are to live in Airdrie, to live in Alberta, and to live in Canada. At this time, I would like you to please turn your attention to our MCs, Christiana and Autumn. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Craigie. Welcome Herons Crossing School students, staff, and community members. My name is Christiana, and this is Autumn. And we are your MCs for this unique Remembrance Day ceremony. This year, we welcome you from wherever you may be, in your classroom, at work, or at home. Please stand for the playing of our national anthem. Please sing along only if you're in a safe, physically distanced space to do so. Thank you for understanding.
Remembrance Day is a day for all Canadians to remember the men and women who served and sacrificed for our country. It's a day we encourage every individual, young and old, to pause, to give thanks, to remember. We like to acknowledge and thank our Herons Crossing Color Guard members. Here are Nolan, Emmett, Dave, Madison to share our Remembrance Day message.
The 11th of November is called Remembrance Day. On Remembrance Day, most people wear poppy. This flower is worn to remind us of people killed on the battlefields of the First and Second World Wars, the Korean War, and more modern military operations around the world, including those in the Balkans and Afghanistan. In Belgium and in France, it is easy to discover plenty of red poppies. They are easily found in Flanders fields where much of the fighting in the First World War took place. The war was known as the Great War because it was the first time in history that almost every country in the world was at war. However, it is not a great place to be. The war lasted 4 years, and every spring, the soldiers who lived and fought in the trenches and noticed the red flowers blooming on the battlefield and on the graves of the friends killed in the fighting.
When the war ended and the people who were in the military came home, they continued to think about their friends who were buried overseas. Each time they thought of the graves, they remembered the poppies which grew around the graves. They did not want Canadians to forget that their friends died serving Canada. The poppy became a symbol that everyone could wear to show they remembered.
Why do we remember them on the 11th of November each year? The war stopped on the 11th hour of November 11th, 1918. Those who were in the war decided it would be right to remember their friends on the day the fighting stopped. Many Canadians also died in the Second War, the Korean War, on peacekeeping missions, and in more modern conflicts, including Afghanistan. These men and women are also remembered on November 11th. When you wear a poppy, you remember all of those brave Canadians.
Thank you, Nolan, Emmett, Dana, and Madison for the Remembrance Day message. This year, 2020, marks the 75th anniversary of the end of World War II. We now welcome Miss Lee to share a reading of her grandfather's book.
Good morning, everybody. This is Mrs. Lee, and this morning, as part of our virtual Remembrance Day ceremony, I have been asked to share with you some of my grandfather's book, A Soldier's Story. My grandfather served as a tank commander in World War II, and he served from 1941 to 1945. He fought in Germany, Italy, Africa, and Holland. And when he was 84 years old, he decided to sit down and write a complete memoir about his time in the war. So this morning I'm going to read to you about one of his experiences while he was fighting just outside of Rome. So I hope you enjoy. At first light, we started out again. The resistance was weak, and we made great progress. I remember that noon hour we were sitting on a hillside during a lull in action. We were eating our hardtack, while just below lay the bodies of several German soldiers. It occurred to me how hard we were getting when death meant so little and no one really cared. That is, until someone in Germany got word that their son or husband had been killed in action. As we proceeded on, we came around a little wooded area, and to there, my left, is what must have been a German headquarters during their retreat. I could see a lot of paper spilled along with the bodies of at least 15 to 20 German soldiers. They must have had a direct hit with a high explosive shell or a battery of mortar shells. The enemy was pulling back quite quickly now with our forces in hot pursuit. The Germans at Anzio now had to pull back or face being cut off or captured. This relieved the Anzio bridgehead. Rome was the next objective, but not for us. We had broken through the Hitler line, fought our way up the valley almost to Rome, and there we were held, while the Americans entered the open city. In all Europe, Rome was the only open city after Paris. An open city is a city that, because of historical reasons, was off limits to bombing or hostilities by either side. On our way up the valley, our supply convoy was attacked by German bombers. The bombing was so close to us, we thought it was meant for us. It was night, and we could see the bombs exploding. Fortunately, not too much damage was done to the convoy. It was quite common to see German prisoners being taken back to prisoner of war camps. One day, I saw a German soldier coming out of a home with several Italians kissing and hugging him. Our infantry took him prisoner. Italy at that time had surrendered. I felt like putting a shell through the house, but I didn't. When we were about 5 miles from Rome, we were halted. The Germans were retreating north, and we were relieved for a rest period. We thought we could now visit Rome. We were advised by brigade headquarters that Rome was out of bounds. The Americans were in full control and wanted all of the glory and all of the recognition for taking the city. Needless to say, we were not very happy about this decision. Many of our comrades had died on the way to Rome, as had Americans. However, we all should have been treated equally. Our squadron moved down to a beautiful beach south of Rome for a few days of R&R. We swam and lived under canvas and had a great rest period. Boys and girls, I wanted to share with you the final page of my grandfather's book, and it really sums up his true feelings about war and how much he hated it. And this is what it says. Often, as we fought our way north towards Germany, I saw firsthand the destruction and slaughter of so many men and women on both sides. I would think to myself how stupid this war was, and all because of the greed and hatred of a little man called Adolf Hitler. I was sure the majority of German soldiers felt the same as I did. It didn't take a genius to understand that war served no purpose. Throughout history and the two great wars, it was the little men, the civilians, who served and died. The world was made no better, in fact, was poorer as a result of their loss. Granted, Adolf Hitler had to be stopped at all costs, but how did the German people allow such a man to blindly lead them into another world war and another costly defeat? My guess at the time was that the German people were primed to follow someone like Adolf Hitler, who promised them a supreme race. This is something that I have never been able to understand. Thank you so much for listening this morning, everyone.
Thank you for sharing that personal and meaningful story. Here is Miss Allen's grade 3 class reciting the poem In Flanders Fields. In Flanders Fields was first published December 1915. Within months, the poem came to symbolize the sacrifices of all who were in the First World War. Today, the poem continues to be part of the Remembrance Day ceremonies in Canada and the world. It was written by a Canadian, John McCrae, a doctor and a teacher, who served in both the South African War and the First World War.
In Flanders fields by John McCrae. In Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky the larks still bravely singing fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead short days ago, we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe, to you the failing hands we throw. The torch be yours to hold it high. If ye bring faith with us who die, we shall not sleep though poppies grow in Flanders fields.
Today, the poppy is worn each year during the Remembrance period to honor Canadians fallen. To help explain the significance of the poppy, here are Quinton, Hayden, and Pacey with a poem called Why Wear a Poppy.
Please wear a poppy,
the lady said, and held one forth. But I shook my head, then I stopped and watched as she offered them there. And her face was old and lined with care, but beneath the scars the year had made, there remained a smile that refused to fade. A boy came whistling down to the street, bouncing along on carefree feet. His smile was full of joy and fun.
Lady,
said he,
may I have one?
When she pinned it on, he turned to stay. Why do we wear a poppy today? The lady smiled in her wistful way and answered,
this is Remembrance Day. In the poppy there is a symbol for the gallant ones who died in war, and because they did, You and I are free. That's why we wear a poppy, you see. I had a boy about your size, with golden hair and big blue eyes. He loved to play and jump and shout. Free as a bird, he would race about. As the years went by, he learned and grew and became a man, as you will do. But the war went on and he had to stay, and all I could do was wait and pray. His letters told of the dreadful plain. I can see it still in my dreams at night, with the tanks and guns and cruel barbed wire, and the mines and bullets and bombs and fire, till at last, the war was won. And that's why we wear a poppy, son.
A small boy turned as if to go, then said, "Thanks, lady, I'm glad to know. That sure did sound like an awful fight. But your son, did he come back all right?"
A tear rolled down each faded cheek. She shook her head but didn't speak. I slunk away in a sort of shame, and if you were me, you'd have done the same. For our thanks and giving is oft delayed, though our freedom was bought and thousands paid. And so when we see a poppy warm, let us reflect on the burden borne. But those who gave their very all when asked to answer their country's call, that we at home in peace might live. Then wear a poppy, remember, and give.
Every year at the 11th hour, the 11th day, the 11th month, we gather in memorial parks, community halls, workplaces, schools, and homes. We stand for honor for all who have fallen.
Please stand for the act of remembrance, the last post, a moment of silence, reveille, and the commitment to remember.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, in the morning, we will remember them.
They were young as we are young. They served, giving freely of themselves
To them we pledge, amid the winds of time, to carry their torch and never forget. We will remember them.
We will remember them.
Thank you to our students, staff, and community members for your contributions, and for joining our Remembrance Day ceremony.
Lest we forget.